Sherilyn, and you're watching Sweep the League. Subscribe and share.
Rudy Campos Jr. here from Sweep the League. Hey, make sure you go and follow Sherilyn on Instagram. Just search official Sherilyn on Instagram.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
Hey guys, welcome to and it says Wacky Wednesday. It's actually Taco Tuesday, so disregard the title on the show, but it is Taco Tuesday here for us at Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. joining you tonight, and a lot going on. You had the NBA Finals end last night. Boston ends up winning its 18th title. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics. Derek White, former Spur, winning an NBA title with the Celtics. Shout out to Derek White, but also shout out to all the Boston Celtics players and the Dallas Mavericks. Both teams deserve kudos for making the NBA Finals. But again, Boston does win its 18th title in the Boston Celtics history. We're going to get into some NBA Finals talk, kind of recap that. Also get into some NBA offseason where, I know Spurs are the hot topic with the draft coming up next week, but the potential to see them taking two players, you kind of see lately. I've seen Klingon, like we mentioned last night, going number 1 to Atlanta. Then we're looking at Sarr going at 3. There was a report that possibly Stefan Castle is going to go to 3. Sarr at 2. Stefan Castle going to Houston at number 3. So what does that do for the Spurs? That kind of leaves them open for Reece Archier. I mean, it could possibly have them trade down. I mean, there's a lot of different things the Spurs could do. So we'll go back into NBA draft talk, but also NBA offseason talk. You got a lot of teams, like I said, the West is going to be different. And that kind of leads into that 2025, 2026 season where, as I'm looking at the San Antonio Spurs, that's the offseason 2025 when I think it all starts to come together. You've got a big crop of free agents, a lot of big name free agents in 2025. So 2024 is going to be the year. 2024, 2025 is going to be that year to see how these all-star players, how they're meshing with their team, how they're gelling with the team. Are they going to sign those extensions? That's going to be the tall tale because, again, when the San Antonio Spurs have Victor Wembanyama, he's attracting guys that want to play with him, straight out of college. You've got some NBA stars, NBA all-stars that would love to play alongside Victor. So, again, year 1 was seeing what you have. Year 2 is starting to take that first step. It's like the babies. Basically when you drafted Victor, you take that baby step. You learn to walk. And then now it's year 2. You're starting to walk faster. Year 3 is when I expect the Spurs to start to run. So we'll get into some NBA offseason talk. Also, NHL update, quick update. End of the second period right now. Edmonton up 4-2 on Florida. Again, Florida was up on the series 3-0. Edmonton ended up winning in Game 4, 8-1. They're up on Florida in Game 5 here, 4-2. Can they push it to Game 6? Again, 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs is the only team to come back from an 0-3 deficit in the Stanley Cup. So it has been done before. Will it be done again? We're going to talk about the NHL playoffs here just a little bit. But first and foremost, I'm going to get to some of the comments here. Definitely Tim Gonzalez is in here. Willie Mays, and that's the thing. Going to get into a little bit of Willie Mays talk right here. And today, we just got word a little while ago that Willie Mays ended up passing away. So let's get to some baseball talk here. So yeah, it was announced that Willie Mays ended up passing away at the age of 93. And one thing about Willie, for those of y'all that know, me, I I am a Giants fan. I've always been a Giants fan. That's in honor of my dad. My dad was a massive Willie Mays fan, regarded as one of the best, if not one of the best, regarded as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And to some people, he was probably the greatest baseball player of all time. I've seen that being posted. I've seen some guys in the media posting that he is regarded as the best baseball player of all time. I do consider him one of the greatest of all time. Definitely the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. You're talking about a career where he's had a career average of 301, 3,293 career hits, 660 home runs, 1,909 RBIs for his career. What more can you say about Willie Mays? I mean, 24-time All-Star, World Series champion in 1954, two-time MVP, 12-time Gold Glove winner. I mean, it's Willie Mays, guys. We lost a legend today, and it's hard after losing, NBA legends, Bill Walton, Jerry West recently. Just seeing, Willie Mays pass away today is very sad. And it does hit a little bit closer to home, not only because I'm a Giants fan, but like I said, my dad was a massive Willie Mays fan. And, losing my dad back in 2018, I shared sports with him all the time. And he would always talk to me about watching Willie play. And, he just would go brag. And, my dad had a lot of people on his top list. And basketball, my dad was a massive JoJo White fan from the Boston Celtics. He was a big James Silas fan when it came to the San Antonio Spurs, which is his favorite team. Obviously a George Gervin fan. But in baseball, my dad was all about Willie Mays. He was all about the Giants. And again, seeing Willie pass away at the age of 93, rest in peace, Willie Mays. Again, gone from us at the age of 93. Terrible, terrible loss for the game of baseball. And obviously for myself as well. So a legend is gone, and that's something that it hurts. It hurts a lot. We're starting to lose a lot of our legends, a lot of our sport heroes, the guys that we started, we always would hold in high regard. They're starting, to enter the big baseball diamond in the sky and the big basketball court in the sky. And, what I say from a personal level, Dad, a lot of these guys you watched, and let's just say that now you're able to watch them again up in heaven. Your baseball and your sport heroes are with you now, but nonetheless, it's part of life, guys. It's part of life. But that's what we want to talk about with Willie Mays again. He passed away at the age of 93. The Say Hey Kid. So when we get back, we'll take a commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk NBA Finals and break it down on the recap. Also, NBA Offseason talk as well, and then we'll give you the NHL update, guys. We'll be back. Rudy Campos, Sweep the League. Do you want a refreshing new twist on the tea with ancient roots? Well, Special Leaf Tea is the way to go. Chris Cook, founder and chef of Special Leaf Tea, is introducing everybody to a 4,000-year-old ancient Mediterranean secret, and it is called Special Leaf Tea. Special Leaf's mission is to help people through naturally functional, ready-to-drink iced teas made with olive leaf, all natural ingredients, and no added sugar. Full of antioxidants and immune-boosting capabilities, olive leaf tea is known to help with blood pressure, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, cholesterol, weight management, and is even naturally energizing without caffeine. That's right, Special Leaf Tea, proud partners of Sweep the League, and as a drinker of Special Leaf Tea, I can attest to all of its great ingredients and better lifestyle. Special Leaf Tea, proud partners of Sweep the League. So the NBA Finals ended last night. We ended up seeing Boston Celtics winning the NBA Finals, adding number 19 to obviously, Boston lore there. MVP for the series was Jaylen Brown. Now, of course, talk's going to go back and forth. Jaylen Brown probably shouldn't have won MVP. Should have been Jason Tatum. But Jaylen Brown ended up getting 7 votes from the writers that were able to vote for Finals MVP. I believe Tatum got 4. It could have gone either way. Could it have been co-MVPs? I'm all for co-MVPs in the NBA Finals, especially the way both Tatum and Brown played. But if you're only getting to vote once, I did say yesterday before the game ended that I was taking Jaylen Brown to win MVP. It just seems like Tatum was consistent throughout the series. I mean, hell, they both played prolific defense, but it just seems like, Tatum was consistent all around. When it came to the stat sheets, for me, it was Brown had those clutch moments in the victories for the Celtics. If that kind of makes sense, he had those clutch moments. He got hot when he had to. He made the right play on the offensive side. He was slashing to the basket. He was making the jump. He was making his jump shots when needed when he was open. I think that more than anything, the reason why Brown got it pretty much was because, like I said, he made the clutch plays when needed. Not saying Tatum didn't make those plays, but they were happening more for Brown. And that's why I feel Jaylen Brown deserved the MVP. People were saying Jason Tatum was upset that Jaylen Brown got the MVP. And I highly, highly doubt that. I highly doubt he was upset. When Brown was presented with the award, you saw Tatum laughing and smiling. But Jason Tatum is also a guy that he thrives on wanting to be better and knowing that, yes, they got their first title under their belt. Could there be more? I'm going to get into that in a minute. That's probably going to motivate him to become better and be better. They get back to the finals. You may see a different type of Jason Tatum. Did they necessarily need it? Not really. Not really. They go in there afraid to say, I believe you're talking about the deaths. Yeah, they do. So, like I said, recently we had Bill Walton, Jerry West, and now Willie Mays. They do come in 3. Sadly, they do. So let's kind of take a break on the legends' death in pro sports for a little bit, because all 3 were definitely hard ones to overcome. Rudy, what's up? Sid, how you doing, man? How are you doing, brother? Duke fans are pissed that Tatum didn't get a Finals MVP, but me, I wasn't upset. He didn't win it. Can't be upset about it, man. I mean, Brown. To me, Brown, he made the clutch plays when needed, and that's why I figured I was going to give him the MVP, and that's why I figured he won the MVP. Tatum got the Iguodala treatment. Brown carried them. Yeah, I mean, it's not so much he got the Iguodala treatment, because remember, if Tatum got the Iguodala treatment, Andre Iguodala was MVP in one of the finals. So Tatum was. So let's break it down like this for NBA Finals. Brown was more deserving of the MVP. I think he was more clutch. And I think that's where the key was he was really clutch in the finals in certain areas. Tatum was smooth the entire time. He filled up the stat sheets. He made the plays he had to make. He wasn't so much of a, you can't say, well, he's not the leader. He didn't play MVP basketball, because he sure as hell did. He played MVP basketball in the finals. But like I said, I think Brown just made those clutch plays. And that's where Tatum made clutch plays, but they weren't as big or in the big moments as Brown did. And that's why Brown's plays and Brown's, performance was way more magnifying than what Tatum did. So that's why I gave it to Brown. That's why I feel Jaylen Brown deserved the MVP title. Brown deserves more. Yeah, what has Brown done for you lately? Well, he brought a title to Boston. The only thing Tatum cares about is getting that title. Exactly. I mean, a lot of the superstars in the game, a lot of the guys that go on to become legends, they just care about winning, not how. They don't care if they get MVPs or whatever, but they do care about winning. So that's definitely what is up, Leha, man. Leha, hopefully I can meet with you this week soon. Shout out to the USOA out there, man. All you fellas out there, part of the USOA. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate all that you guys do for us here. Hey Wesley, how you doing, man? Thank you for joining us tonight. Remember when I said Spurs in 5 for this finals? I got the 5 part right. Yes, you did. You know what, Leha? We're gonna give you the check mark on that because you said Spurs in 5. The Celtics won in 5. The Celtics have a Spurs tie in Derek White. So let's go ahead and give Leha that check mark because there was a Spur branch on this Celtics squad. So congratulations, Leha. You ended up winning that entire bet. Howdy, I'll be looking in the back. Don't mind Waylon snoring. No worries, man. No worries at all, JC. We just played your special Leaf commercial a little while ago. So definitely appreciate your support, man. We're going to get some more special Leaf for everybody here. Tatum will look nice in a Spurs jersey. We can't start that conversation, Mario. We can't have that conversation. Tatum's about to be paid by Boston. They're going to be committing $120 million to 2 players in Tatum and Brown at the end of this offseason. But he'd look pretty good in a Spurs jersey, but definitely is not going to happen. So we'll leave that for NBA Live for those guys that want to do the trades on there. But let's not get that rumor started. That could be a hard rumor to overcome. Tatum and Brown are interchangeable. Like Manu or Tony winning finals MVP, neither cared as long as team wins. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Boston, and that's something that we're going to definitely talk about because I'll talk about here in a minute. Man, Tatum set back up the Brinks truck. You're right. I mean, the kid's I think he's going to get paid on average, if I saw right, like $60 million a year. That's a lot of coin, man. You know, it's sad enough. I'll never see $1 million in my lifetime. I mean, I could even say, hey, you know what? I've got 3,800 followers on Twitter. If every one of my followers, sent me $5, I'm still probably in debt no matter what. So, no, I would never see that. But yeah, Tatum's getting paid. I need to make friends with Jason Tatum quick so I can get a little bit of cut of that money. Leha carry USOA on his back, of course, man. Leha does carry the USOA on his back. He's the general. He's the guy for USOA. Manu over Tony, can't stand Parker. That's a very popular subject. I know a lot more, and it's funny. I know a lot more people that are not Tony Parker fans. They're Spurs fans, but they're just not Tony Parker fans. So we can have that debate one day, probably when Derek Irvin's on here. Thanks for all the comments, guys. You guys are commenting left and right here. Leha's close to making that $1 million. Probably so. I'd say Leha's closer to being a millionaire than a lot of us are. That is definitely true for Boston. So, we're like I mentioned, Tatum's going to get paid this offseason. I mean, you're probably looking, if I'm not mistaken, if the numbers are right, you're looking at probably $60 million a year on that extension. Definitely. Does he deserve it? That's the question that a lot of people end up asking. Is a player worth $60 million? Is he definitely worth the money? Well, brought a title to Boston, so he's definitely worth getting paid. But again, it's like in the NBA, you have to, if you have the money, you have to spend it. You can't just, underpay players or anything like that. Tatum is definitely going to get that check. He's going to get that cake for sure at $60 million a year on the extension. You have Brown under contract. The 2 biggest guys I believe they're looking at, one of them is Derek White. I mean, he's going into free agency. That's going to be their main priority, is signing Derek White. Does Derek White want to be back? I 110% believe Derek White wants to be back in Boston. So that's going to be their priority, is Derek White. I feel they're going to re-sign him going into next season. Talking to Jeff Garcia on Locked On Spurs, I did mention, actually, no, it wasn't Locked On. It was on yesterday's episode of Sweep the League. Jeff asked the question, what is the chances of Boston going back-to-back? And the only thing I remember saying was, we're getting the offseason talk here. The only thing I remember saying is, I want to see what Denver does in this offseason, because losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, you saw was traumatic for Denver. They really didn't have a bench at all. So, Ryan Brown was their bench. I mean, they needed more bench help, and losing those 2 guys and Bruce Brown and Jeff Green really showed why Denver was very beatable in these playoffs. So I want to see what Denver does. Now, if Denver is able to sign, and don't get me wrong, they're not going to go after these young guys. They're not going to go draft guys to replace what they lost last offseason when it came to the veterans. They're going to go after some veterans. If they can solidify and secure the bench play at Denver the way that they did during the title run, I would probably go back to Denver winning the title again, because again, they've been loaded for a while. But right now, as of right now, the way Denver looks, and if they're not going to be able to re-sign, they're not going to be able to guys for the bench to fill that bench, the bench squad, I'm going to go back with Boston. Boston has everything still. And the only thing about Boston is they can just add more players to an already good bench. I mean, you saw the bench play in the finals here, and the whole, I go back to the whole thing. Don't give me the Boston had the easy way to the finals and all that crap. Again, the injuries, they're not Boston's fault. They beat a healthy Maverick squad. And even Lucas says, well, he was playing playing hurt. He was still playing. So definitely they beat a healthy Maverick squad. But going into next season, I still like Boston right now. I want to see what Denver does. I do like Boston going into next season. Just put it out there now. Congratulations on the NBA Finals win, the Boston Celtics championship number 18. Let's get into some NBA offseason talk, more than just the Boston and Denver chatter that we've been having right now. Let's get back to some of these comments. Apparently, Leja's making $1 million, and it's got the eye emoji, the mouth closed emoji, the laughing emoji. We don't know if you're at that $1 million mark yet. Mario, do it, because if it happens, we would have to mention the Duke boy. Yeah, I don't mind mentioning Duke players. It's fine. It is what it is. What if we just offer Derek White the bag? That's a lot of people have talked about that. A lot of people have talked about that. Could they offer Derek White the bag? They sure as hell could. The Spurs have a lot of cap space, so that is an offseason move that you could possibly see Brian Wright making that phone call, Pop making that phone call, getting Derek White back. It pretty much solves your point guard issue. You would have Trey Jones as your backup. Derek White makes a lot of sense for San Antonio, but he's got a taste of that title run. And like I said, Boston's really not going anywhere. Again, barring major injuries to any of their star players. And I know Porzingis was injured. But again, barring injuries to any of those bigger guys too, I don't see Boston losing in the East. I mean, the two teams that I think could give Boston the most trouble is Philadelphia, especially if they'll go out and get a Paul George, because then you've got a Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid trio, which again, if Embiid can stay healthy, then you've got something really cooking in Philly. And like I mentioned yesterday as well, the New York Knicks. I mean, Hardenstein right now is the key. They've got to re-sign Hardenstein. If they don't, look for possibly Oklahoma City to try to sign Hardenstein. And if they do, wow, Oklahoma City can go straight to the forefront in the West, in the Western Conference with the Hardenstein signing. Not only that, you got to remember Oklahoma City has a lottery pick this year as well. How scary is that? They've got a lottery pick this year. Again, draft isn't worth all that this season. It's kind of like a project draft. But again, giving Oklahoma City some ammo in that lottery it's just killer for Oklahoma City. They can do so much. But Hardenstein's going to be the key for the Knicks. You got Brunson, you got Hart, you got DiVincenzo, you got Julius Randle coming back off of an injury. I'm still saying I feel that we're going to see Karl Anthony Towns is the name that I feel is going to possibly be thrown around going to New York. Now, does that cost them Julius Randle? It might cost them Julius Randle, but then you would also go back in there and sign Hardenstein. And if the Knicks were able to get a Hardenstein, Karl Anthony Towns to go along with a Brunson, and also you got to remember re-signing OG Anunoby. I know OG wants to. I think he's going to test the free agent market. The Knicks are going to probably be able to pay him close to max what he's worth. Does he want to stay? I think he does. I think he still wants to be a Knick when it's all said and done. I think he still wants to be a Knick. So I think OG will still be in New York when it's all said and done at the end of the day. So the Knicks are one team to keep an eye on when it comes to the East Coast and threatening Boston in the East Coast. the Eastern Conference, because like I said, if they're able to make that move and probably get Karl Anthony Towns, then re-sign Anunoby, re-sign Hardenstein, and like I said, maybe use Julius Randle as trade bait, maybe trade him back to Minnesota in a deal for Karl Anthony Towns. That's one move that I could definitely see happening. People were talking about a Booker, about Kevin Durant for the Knicks. I really don't see it too much. It's hard to say. I think they really need that. They need that other big guy. I mean, you saw they were missing it this postseason when Randall was hurt. So I think Karl Anthony Towns is probably the one guy. But hey, lay out the Derek White, good possibility, man. I mean, it's something that they can look at. You definitely can look at when it comes to Derek White getting that bag and paid in the offseason. KCP is entering free agency. I believe he is entering free agency. So again, I think he's entering it, but he's going to probably end up. I think he's going to probably just going to go ahead and re-sign. I don't think he's really going to go anywhere. Tim Whip has been the best. Tim Whip has been the best Duke player to play with the Spurs, or who? I bet you it's like who? Yeah, who has been the best Duke player to play with the Spurs? Trey Jones. If I have to throw my hat in there, Johnny Dawkins is one that I would probably say is up there when it comes to a Duke player. That is probably the best NBA player from Duke to play for the Spurs. I would probably have to say is Johnny Dawkins. Definitely would be my pick. Too much parity in NBA. Haven't seen back-to-back titles in 5+ seasons. Boston has monkey out their back. These young teams are going to be contenders again. Injuries always play a factor. Injuries are always a key, Wes. That's what we're mentioning in the NBA offseason. It's always a key to get back to the NBA Finals, and it's tough. It really is tough, but let's go to the rundown. I said the Knicks, depending on what they do in the offseason. Even if they don't do anything, I still think the Knicks are one of the teams that's going to be a threat to Boston when it's all said and done. Not only that, when it comes to, like I said, the 76ers, if you have a healthy Embiid, you're going to be able to compete, especially against Boston. But they've got to get that third guy. Tobias Harris was not that third guy. Tobias Harris isn't even going to be in Philadelphia when the season starts. Outside of that, Orlando, I'm hearing the rumblings, and I kind of can see the Klay Thompson to Orlando move. That's not enough to get Orlando up there, but Orlando's a team it's rising up. There's too much turmoil in Cleveland. You're either going to have to keep Darius Garland or you're going to have to keep Donovan Mitchell. I feel they're probably going to end up parting ways with Jarrett Allen, I feel. So there's too much turmoil in Cleveland. Miami, there's no telling what Jimmy's thinking. There's no telling what Jimmy does. Miami is in a whirlwind right now. That's kind of why you're trying to see the Heat trade into the top 5 in this draft, because there's a lot of speculation of Jimmy might leaving. So they may want to go up there and get one of these guards. They might be looking at Reece Arcier. So Miami's trying to get into that top 5. So we don't know exactly what Miami's going to do. And as of right now, I don't really like what they're doing. Going into the East as well. Indiana's another team. But with Indiana, it's the consistency of Tyrese Halliburton. We kind of saw that this season. When he's hot, they're hot. When he's not, they're not. I want to see more from Indiana. I want to see more from Halliburton. I still think they're a move away from being true contenders in the East. Title contenders, not so much, not yet. I mean, I still think they're a move away, and that move I really feel is probably another big to go next to Miles Turner, or possibly a small forward, but a big small forward, if that makes any sense there. So I think Boston, honestly, Wesley, I think Boston has the absolute best chance to get back to the NBA Finals from the Celtics or the Mavericks. I think Boston can easily get back in the East. I'm not even mentioning Milwaukee, because until Milwaukee can figure out the point guard position, which was the reason why they were a non-factor this year. When you traded Drew Holiday, your season was done. I don't care if you got Damian Lillard. Dame time is Dame time, but that didn't do anything for me. That didn't move the needle at all for me. In fact, it did move the needle. It moved it in the opposite direction for me when it came to the Milwaukee Bucks. No point guard there to run the team. You relied on Dame. You relied on Giannis too much. Chris Middleton was injured. That's a team that is another team on the East, in the Eastern Conference, that's in a tailspin right now. So to be honest, look at the entire picture. there's really no team out there unless they make a couple of moves that I see as a threat to Boston. And that's why I have Boston as of right now going back into the NBA Finals next year. We'll get into the Western Conference here in just a minute. It's back to your contracts. East is a way easier conference than the West. Just depends, man. It's hard to say that it is. Julius Randle was injured for the Knicks. He is a good player. Yes, he is. Klay Thompson with the Knicks. I don't see that happening. Just don't really see that happening at all. Super team in the East has got to be better. Only get better. Indiana. They can get better if they make a few moves. That's the thing. They're too inconsistent for me. Halliburton is way too inconsistent for me. Maybe next year will be totally different for him. But they've got to show a lot more than what they did for me. Could it be another one of those years where it's like, well, hey, they did really, really good. Are they going to be really good again? Who really knows, man? Who really knows? Hey, James, appreciate you joining in, man. The Sports Rush is on Sunday. I got to get the call letters for that, James, but you can catch James Espinosa. Does a really good job on the Sports Rush on Sundays. It's down in Corpus Christi. You guys can take a look at it. I'm sure you can go to James's social medias and find the call letters there. You can definitely tune in. It's a great, great show. They do a fantastic job every single Sunday. I listen to it every now and then when I get a chance to. So shout out to James out there, James Espinosa, Sports Rush. Who are you looking at for the Spurs at 4-8 next week? So draft-wise, James, if they end up keeping those picks, which it probably is likely they're going to do, the three guys that I've got on my board that I'm not going to change my picks right now. But right now at number 4, we've got Stephon Castle as number 1 for me at on the big board for the Spurs. At number 2, basically on my big board, is going to be Dalton Connect. That's my number 2 for the San Antonio Spurs. At number 3, I've got Tajin Saloon. That's my 3rd. So that's my 3 guys on the big board. As of right now, I'm looking at number 4, Stephon Castle. At number 8, I'm going with Tajon Saloon. I think Dalton Connect is probably going to get drafted by Detroit. Right after the Spurs at 5, I think that they're going to look at him a little bit closer than they would Reed Shepherd. So right now, James, to answer your question, if it's right now today, for me at 4, it's Stephon Castle. At number 8, it's Tajon Saloon. If Saloon ends up going ahead of that 8th pick, then I look at Dalton Connect for the Spurs. I mean, you got a guy that can shoot the lights out for the, on the perimeter. He's a 3-point threat. He can get to the basket. He can create. I mean, he's a scorer, and that's something that the San Antonio Spurs need. Stephon Castle brings a defensive mentality, and he also, he brings some toughness in the paint. Now, definitely he's got to work on his jump shot, but again, you can work on it at the NBA level. You can improve it 100% of the time. So for right now, it's Stephon Castle 4, Tajon Saloon at 8. If Saloon's not there, then I'm looking at Dalton Connect at 8 for the San Antonio Spurs. Appreciate the question, man. Again, Andy listeners are here. Thanks, bro. 1440 Keys, 98.7 FM. Appreciate the love. No problem, man. Again, James does a fantastic job, man. It's a Sports Rush, and like I said, I've listened to it a few times, and I try to listen as many times as I can. Head over there on Sundays, 1440 Keys, 98.7 FM. It's in Corpus Christi, so definitely give James a listen to out there. I like Castle, Dillingham if possible, but the Connect would be nice at 8. I like it. Yeah, man. People sleep so much on Dalton Connect. It's crazy how much people are sleeping on Dalton Connect, man. So if we can get him at number 8, if Saloon's not there, and if you're able to get Castle at 4, I mean. Let me ask you this, because this might be something you want to talk about on Sunday because the draft is next week, James. Is reaching for Connect at 4, is that a bad thing? Knowing what you're getting, a veteran when it comes to the collegiate game. You see the potential in him. He fills so many check marks that the Spurs need filled with the exception of point guard. It just makes a lot of sense for Dalton Connect to be a San Antonio Spur. That's why he's number 2 on my Spurs big board. He checks so many boxes for the San Antonio Spurs. You need scoring, he scores. You need shooting, he shoots. You need toughness, he's tough. The biggest knock on him is his defense. He's not a good defender, but if you send a notice, that is the very popular character, basketball skill that is a con for a lot of these kids coming out in this draft, is they're all suspect on defense. So if you're going to go with the best player available, Connect might be that guy for you. I mean, he checks so many boxes when it comes to everything. So, yeah, it's something for you to talk about, man. I appreciate the comments. And yeah, Callison Dillingham. I'm not that high on Dillingham. I'm not high on Dillingham. I've made it clear right now for Dillingham, I have him probably right around that 7, 8, down to like 12 spot being drafted. I'm really not high on Dillingham at all, but appreciate the comment, man. Definitely love you having it on again. James Espinosa, Sports Rush, man, 1440 Keys, 98.7 FM. Definitely go take a listen, man. Great stuff that he's got going on out there. Drew Holiday is having the last laugh. He traded me for nothing. Exactly. It's that Drew Holiday, man. You know, it's Holiday. He's got a title with the Bucks. He's got a title with the the Celtics. It's a Drew Holiday trade. It's story time. Y'all hear, tall tales and other shows and all that. I don't tell tall tales. I got backups. I got what you kids call receipts. The moment Drew Holiday was traded to the Boston Celtics, I speed dialed Derek Gervin and I said, Boston's win the title. He's like, no, Denver's going to win it. He said, I have Denver and Boston in the finals, which I had Denver and Boston in the finals as well. But he said, I have Denver and Boston finals. I have Denver winning. I said, no. Drew Holiday is the key to the Celtics. That's the title, guaranteed. Drew Holiday was the difference maker. The way you look at it, he was the complete difference maker. So, yes, Drew Holiday is the key, man. He is a massive, massive key for the Celtics. Question, really, that pick at 35 could be very interesting. Who do you feel falls through the crack out of first round and slips to the Spurs at 35? So, I've got my list here. So, I mean, that's something that I'm gonna get into with you guys right now. So let's go ahead and we'll bring it up here in just a second here. So I got my list here. At 35, it's kind of best player available, Wesley. But I guarantee you're gonna find a couple of guys there. And I'm gonna give you a couple of guys. I'm gonna give you a couple of late guys that I really, really like as possible late fits. One of them is Cam Spencer. Now, again, Cam Spencer, who? UConn. He's a wing out of UConn. Shoots 44% for three-point range. He averaged like 14.3 points a game. Let me give you a little bit of the numbers here. He's a catch and shoot threat. He's off the ball mover. He has a good feel for the game. He's a knockdown shooter. So one thing that the Spurs need, obviously, is shooting. They need to get a shooter, a spot-up shooter. And that's something that Cam Spencer out of UConn did very, very well. I mean, he stands like 6'3". He's kind of on the small end. But again, he's got a very nice trigger. He can get the ball up quick. Really good spot-up shooter. He's a defensive liability in a sense. But again, like I said, the popular thing on all these kids is their defense. It's going to be tough on the defensive side for the guys. But I like Cam Spencer. He's definitely one guy that I'm keeping my eye on for that second round. Also, a couple of other guys that I'm looking at that might slip through the cracks here, which I don't know if one of them will, but it's a good possibility. Nikola Jurisic out of Serbia. This is a guy, he's 6'7", 14.8 points a game, shot 30% from the field. He's just a playmaker. And he's a guy that's going to be kind of a development guy. So whether he stays another year in Serbia or not, I mean, the Spurs are fantastic when it comes to draft and stash type players. If he stays in Serbia, that's fine. I mean, he's 20 years old, so you can give him another year over there, or you bring him over, you let him cook in Austin for a little bit. He to me, he's a late second round, like a mid-second round guy. He could sneak into the top, to the first round, the bottom of the first round. He could be there at the beginning of the second round. But as a middle of the pack type guy in the second round, I do like Nikola Jurisic out of Serbia. That's another name that you've got to keep in mind. But Wesley, thank you for bringing this up. I'm going to remind everybody here, we've got 56 people strong on the live stream. So let's get a reminder in. Sweep the League is going live, guys, Wednesday night for the 2024 NBA draft. We will be live for the first round, bringing you all the coverage, all the draft picks for the first round, not just for the Spurs. We're going for every single pick for that first round. We're going to provide you with player profiles, player stats. We're going to give you our takes on the drafts, every draft pick for every team, any trades that happen. We'll give you all the knowledge you need. So again, you can watch it on ESPN or wherever it is, or you can have it on, mute it, and listen to us here at Sweep the League. You can join in the conversation. You can give us your thoughts. You can give us your comments. Did you like the picks? Who do you think is going to be selected? So we're going to go ahead and let everybody know now that we are going to be live on Wednesday. We're going to do a pre-draft show before the draft. And once the draft starts, we will be live right back again, providing full coverage, wall-to-wall coverage of the 2024 NBA draft. It's going to be myself and a few other guys from Sweep the League, as well as Ben Bornstein. He's our Sweep the League college guru, so he's going to be joining us as well. Again, Wednesday night, guys, June 26th. Don't miss it. We're going to be live with you guys for the entirety of the NBA draft. So every pick that's going to be made for the first round, you'll get our thoughts on it as well. So appreciate it, Wesley. Again, those are a couple of guys that you want to keep an eye on. Shoot, Kawhi, Lonzo, fix their shots. Yeah, it can be, anything can be fixed in the NBA. You just got to work on it. Tim, since you're here on here, I'm looking to start up a Wrestling Spaces again. Sorry I posted here, Rudy. No worries. You can post whatever you want. This is a show for the people, by the people. This is y'all's guys' show. So post whatever you want, guys. Sith is talking, I'm kind of talking about Sith too. I'm trying to see about him doing the Wrestling Spaces. Maybe we can feature it here on Sweep the League. We want to expand our network. We've already got Sports Insanity Network that we're a part of, I Am Refocused Network. So we're a part of a lot of networks. We're trying to look to expand Sweep the League Network, the channel as well. So Sith, if you got something wrestling going on, let me know, man. We'll definitely try to look into that. So James is back in here. Dalton Connect, SEC Player of the Year for a reason. I don't think at 4 he would be a reach, but I'd personally go point guard at 4 and then hope he's there at 8. But I'm not mad if they go with him at 4. Perfect. Love that, because I kind of fought back on a little bit on that as well. This is me, James. Let me give you an ideal scenario here. If Castle goes at 3 to Houston, everybody is Reece Arcier, hands down, yada yada. No. Honestly, if it's me, I'm looking straight at Connect. I'm like, okay, give me Dalton at 4. And I know you want a point guard at 8, but we're going to see guys dropping a little bit. You know, I hate to bring up his name, but you got you got Topic dropping. He could possibly drop to 4. If that knee injury isn't so serious, then you can probably get him at 4. Another guy the Spurs have been working out recently, if you need a point guard, is Devin Carter. Devin Carter is another guy who should be there at 8. So if you're able to get Connect at 4 and then come back at 8 and get Carter, there's your 1-2 punch. I think Connect at 4 is probably a little high. If it's me, I'm probably drafting him at 4, but that's probably why I don't have a job in the NBA as a GM, because I'm the guy that said I'll take phone calls on Tim Duncan and Victor Wembanyama. Not saying I would trade him, but I would definitely take phone calls on those guys. But Connect at 4, again, Topic's dropping. So Topic is definitely another guy to keep in mind at number 8. I mean, you're going to have point guards after that first pick still available. Topic, Carter, man, who else? I'm looking at a couple of guys here that I have written down. I mean, you could even think about Isaiah Collier later on. You could trade down at 8, trade down a little bit in the first round, get an Isaiah Collier later on. So there's point guards available to fill. I think in more than anything, it's got to be best player available. I know even if Dillingham is there, you may consider Dillingham at number 8. But I mean, I'm glad you agree with me on that. I mean, not too many people agree with me, and I've gotten a lot of pushback when I've said that Topic at Connect at number 4 is probably something that I would do, and I would not be mad about it if they didn't do it. If they did it, because I mean, he checks so many boxes for the San Antonio Spurs. So appreciate the comment again. You know, go listen to James, guys. Got a great show, man. Great show. 1440 The Keys, 98.7 FM down in Corpus Christi. He does a fantastic job. Provides some of the best sports coverage in the region, 100% hands down. Really hoping to start talking about wrestling. We're working with Sith on that. I promise you, we're working on Sith on that. Hell yeah, live draft coverage every year. Rudy, going to be fun to hear the commentary and Ben's thoughts. Appreciate it, Wes. You know, because we were doing it way back in the day. We were the first ones to do it. We were the first ones to do a live draft for the NFL, live coverage of the NFL draft years and years back. We did it for a lot of years as well. Added the NBA to our repertoire. So now that we're growing, all you guys out there can actually partake with us and watch and listen to us as we cover the NBA draft on Wednesday. If you had to bet, Rudy, which free agency player would be different team starting in October, Clay or Brandon? If you had to bet, Rudy, which free agency player would be on a different team starting in October, Clay or Brandon? Both. If you're talking about Brandon Ingram and Klay Thompson, both are going to be moved. I don't expect Brandon Ingram to be a Pelican starting the season. I don't expect Klay Thompson to be a Warrior. Brandon Ingram, that's kind of hard to say where he's going to end up winding up. It's so many other places you can go. Cleveland's been a mention on that because they could possibly trade him to Cleveland, maybe get a Jared Allen and a Garland in return. But again, it's just so hard to figure where Brandon Ingram is going. But Klay Thompson, there's a lot of teams that want Klay, and it's mainly for his shooting. Orlando is probably one of the teams at the top of the list. Probably one of the teams that I'm kind of circling right now is Orlando for Klay Thompson. Another question: has Keldon Johnson played his last game in San Antonio? I think I'm in the. I think I'm on the side of, possibly yes. I think that he's okay. Let me tiptoe around this one, Wes. It's not so much that he played his last game in San Antonio. I think he's the guy on the trading block to make a blockbuster deal work, if that makes a little more sense. I really think he's going to be a Spur to start the season unless you get that one trade that is coming along that the Spurs are going to make. Then, of course, Keldon's probably going to be one of those guys that's on the trade block and part of the package. But outside of that, he's going to start with the San Antonio Spurs, I believe, at the beginning of the season. It's hard for me to see the Spurs make a huge trade in the offseason. I see it, but I don't. I lean more on the side of probably 35%, 40% that they do make a massive trade in the offseason. They're going to probably go into the draft. If they do make a trade, it might even be on draft night. So a lot of teams are trying to get into the top 5. 2 or 3 teams are actually trying to get into the top 5. So Spurs could probably move that pick. Maybe Keldon be a part of it. They might get something in return. So I'd say as of right now, no, he hasn't played his last game in San Antonio. It's going to take for him to be part of a major draft package in order for him to not be with the Spurs. But as of right now, I don't think so. I think he's going to still be with the Spurs at the beginning of the season. Great question. Louis, what's up, man? Definitely would go point guard too. Shout out to Louis, man. La Cocina Food Truck is best food truck in New Braunfels. We're going to do a lot of work with Louis here pretty soon. So, again, be looking for a lot of stuff coming out from La Cocina Food Truck here in New Braunfels. You guys in the New Braunfels area, hit up Louis at the La Cocina Food Truck, man. Thursday through Sunday. It's great stuff out there. Here's your second place at number 8 all time isn't super low, not a lot of meaningful players. It's tough to say, man. You can say that about the number 1 picks. A lot of number 1 picks have kind of come and gone when it comes to the NBA. But yeah, we'll get into some more talk here. We'll give you an NHL update as well. This is Sweep the League. Rudy Campos Jr. We'll be back in just a second to kill the last segment of the show here, NHL update. We'll talk more off-season. You guys got any more comments, questions, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them here as soon as we can. Rudy Campos Jr., Sweep the League. We will be right back, guys. Living in South Texas, we know tacos are king, especially in the San Antonio and surrounding areas. So if you want the best, then go get the best. La Cocina Taco Truck, located at 283 West San Antonio Street, New Braunfels, Texas, where Louis and his staff are cooking up the most amazing and greatest street tacos you can ever imagine. There is no order too big or too small for Louis and his staff to get going and get ready for you. La Cocina Taco Truck, again, 283 West San Antonio Street, New Braunfels, Texas. They are open Thursday through Sunday evenings. And again, if you want the best, you've got to go to the best. That's La Cocina Taco Truck, partners of Sweep the League. MCS General Contracting is here to make life easy for you. Rudy Campos Jr. for Sweep the League, coming to you for MCS General Contracting. Chris Leha and the boys are out to provide the absolute best service and quality work. Whether it's that perfect patio in the backyard or possibly the front yard, or you need that durable driveway, well, it's hot in San Antonio majority of the time. So what about that long-awaited swimming pool you've been wanting to get? Contact the boys over at MCS General Contracting. They will take care of everything that you need, and I guarantee you they are the best in the business. MCS General Contracting.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweet Philly Radio.
Well, guys, the hardest game to win is the fourth game to claim a title, and it's proven to be true again as NHL update is upon us right now. We are sitting at the score of 5-3. Edmonton on top of Florida 5-3. 18.7 seconds to go in the third quarter. Edmonton just scored again, so it's 5-3. Edmonton on top of Florida. This looks like it's going to game 6. At the beginning of the series, I did end up taking Florida in 6 games, but man, they were up 3-0 in the series. Now it's going to be 3-2 with Florida still maintaining the series lead. Going back to Edmonton, could Edmonton pull it off? Could they make the comeback? Can they come back being down 0-3 in the series and be the second team in NHL history to match the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs as the only teams to come back in the Stanley Cup down 0-3? Looks like it's possible. Looks like it is possible. So we'll be tuning in and we'll give you some more updates when it comes to game 6. It has gone final. Edmonton does win. Game 5 series is 3-2 Florida on top 3-2, but Edmonton does win game 5, 5-3 over Florida. We'll try to get Barry Bez and Carson Best back on the show here pretty soon to talk about the NHL Stanley Cup. It's awesome. If you guys are watching it, you need to watch the Stanley Cup ASAP. It's getting really, really, really good, man. Really good. Shout out to USA OG, El Mero Mero, Leja. Definitely shout out to Leja, man. All I know about the NHL is that that Oilers chick. You know, the Sucio part is coming out of you, Sith, man. Yeah, apparently that Oilers chick, everybody knows about that Oilers chick. And if you haven't, just go to social media on Twitter or X or whatever. I'm pretty sure you'll see what he's talking about there. Rudy, earlier you said Johnny Dawkins is the greatest player to play for Spurs. How about Gene Banks? Yeah, Gene Banks is another one. I completely forgot about Gene Banks. Spurs have had a pretty good run when it came to some Duke players. I mean, Trey Jones is one. You got Johnny Dawkins, Gene Banks. I think Cherokee Parks was actually a Spur for a little while there. Obviously, Danny Ferry was a Spur for a little while there as well. So they've had a nice little run on Duke players. So yeah, shout out to Tim Gonzalez on the Duke reference here. But nonetheless, man, I mean, the offseason, like we've been talking about, let's go to the Western Conference now. We talked about the East. I say Boston is probably going to end up coming up. Again, on the East, there's just not many threats unless you see teams making moves like the Knicks or the 76ers. But on the Western Conference, this is a tough one. And let's be real. I mean, you kind of got to be real on this here because what I'm going to do, let me bring up this up real quick here. Everybody talks about a lot of these teams, you know, this team, that team. And one team that doesn't get mentioned a lot that they have a pick. I mean, they're sitting pretty this offseason. They had a very tough regular season last year. And that is the Memphis Grizzlies, guys. I'm sorry, I kind of get a little off track there. That is the Memphis Grizzlies, who have the 9th pick in this draft. Now, you had John Moran, who was out. Marcus Smart was injured. Desmond Bain got injured. Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies are a team that were forgotten going into next season. Healthy is going to add a top 10 pick. They have the 9th pick. They're going to be one of those teams where they're going to probably end up getting back into the playoffs. I mean, a Desmond Bain and John Morant, that's a scoring tandem right there that is going to be tough to stop. They got Marcus Smart. You know, he's a defensive presence there. Jaren Jackson is a great defensive player in the interior. So Memphis is a team that is not going to be bad this coming year. They're going to be a lot better. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be the best team in the division. Kind of hard to say. I mean, obviously Dallas was in the finals. They're probably going to be the best team in that division. But that entire division, when you're looking at that division, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a very tough one. Houston, again, they have the 3rd pick in the draft. They were making strides. Obviously, we mentioned, you know, all the young guys they have, Smith and Thompson. Sengun is playing at a whole different level. We've seen what he can do. I know Steven Adams was injured, but they have, an interior guy like Steven Adams. They have Fred VanVleet as their point guard. They're not very far off from being another, playoff contender type team. So the West is going to be so tough. And the points that I've kind of made about the West was we're going to probably see what I've been calling the NBA rapture on the Western Conference. A lot of teams are going to end up dismantling. I mean, I can't see Phoenix paying all three of those guys. I feel Booker or KD is going to be gone. Nobody wants Bradley Beal, so it's going to kind of have to be you either cut the guy and take your loss, or you're going to have to end up, just keeping him on and just using Bradley Beal wherever you can. But the other thing is Golden State, they're not going to be the same team. I mean, I know they were talking about Looney possibly free agency or being moved, but that's not going to happen. Klay Thompson is going to be there. Draymond Green, we don't know what we're getting out of Draymond Green. I mean, if he plays disruptive like he normally does, you're going to see more suspensions coming out. Steph's not going to be able to do it himself. So Golden State is definitely another team that I think is going to go in down on the standings. It's not going to be the same team. Looking at other guys, other teams, Oklahoma City is probably one of the more structured teams. They're just going to get better in the offseason. I have a feeling they might end up moving Josh Giddey somewhere. And if they do, they can really make a push for a legitimate superstar to go next to Chet and to play next to SGA. I mean, you've got Jalen Williams. You saw the emergence of Williams. They're not going to let Dort go, but I think if they can find a suitor for Josh Giddey, they have so many draft picks as well, so much draft capital that a team like Brooklyn, they need draft picks because they lost a lot of draft picks throughout the years. Phoenix is another team that's lost so many draft picks throughout the years. A lot of these teams want, to get some picks back. So packaging Giddey with some of these picks can possibly bring Oklahoma City another superstar, which would put them, again, they were the number one seed last year, the youngest squad to ever be a number one seed. And they're just going to continue to get better. It reminds me a lot of the Houston Texans. Like they had a so successful of a year, and all they did was just get better and better in the offseason. So I think Oklahoma City is another team that's going to be steady. Denver is going to always be steady. When you have, you have Gordon, you have Jokic, you have Murray. I mean, they just have to get that bench squared away. If they get the bench squared away, then I really feel they'll be back up to number one. The Clippers, you're going to probably end up losing Paul George, maybe James Harden as well. So it's just going to be Kawhi. Sacramento is kind of a head scratcher. I think Sacramento is going to stay as is. They're not going to make very many moves. They may bring a couple of veterans in, but they're not going to make very many moves at all. Sacramento is another team that is one to watch. And I mean, you can say the Lakers, there's so much talk about the Lakers because LeBron's going to be testing free agency. Now there's even rumblings that there's a possibility they could be shopping Anthony Davis around as well to see what they can get in return for Anthony Davis. So the Lakers are another team to kind of keep an eye on. The Pelicans, Brandon Ingram is gone. Is Zion and CJ McCollum going to be enough to keep the Pelicans afloat in the play-in spot? The Mavericks are still going to be fine. The Mavericks will still be fine. I mean, I don't see them making too many more drastic moves. They may add a player here or there. I don't see them. I think Derek Jones is probably their biggest free agent right now, which I fully expect to see them re-sign Derek Jones. He was a really vital piece to the Mavericks this season. So I think the Mavericks will be fine. So my only guarantees are Oklahoma City, Denver, Dallas. Minnesota's another one, depending on what happens with Cat. If Cat ends up being moved and you're stuck with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, it depends on who comes back in return for that Cat move. They could be another team that kind of doesn't fall from grace, but isn't exactly a top three team in the West. So right now, I mean, you're looking at Oklahoma City, Denver, and Dallas probably is my only guarantees to be in the top three, top four in the Western Conference. What does that do for the Spurs? Last segment here. What does that do for the Spurs? I mean, you see the Spurs 22 wins last year. I mean, are they going to be able to get to 40? So you had to have 46 wins to make the play-in game. The question is always, can they get into the play-in game? I mean, I think you're going to have to really walk a little bit faster than you can starting to run. It's going to be tough. I don't see them as is right now. The way they stand, if they bring in just the draft picks and they keep the same exact team, I've had them at about 28 wins going into next season. At the end of next season, I had them at 22 this year. I think they're able to get another 6 wins. So putting them at 28, I'm around that 27, 28, 29 range. Could they get to 30? It's a very good possibility. I think I have the ceiling at 30, 31 for the San Antonio Spurs. Not enough to get into the play-in spot. But again, that's a team as is. We don't know exactly what they're going to do in the offseason just yet. So as is, if the same team comes back with the draft picks that they're going to be drafted next Wednesday, I see them at that 28, 29 win mark right now. But it's the summer of 2025 when you have a lot of these big name free agents come in. You're going into year 3 of Victor. You've got more people around him. You've got more players around him. You can make more moves around him in 2025. That's where I'm starting to say, okay, now let's start talking about 42. Let's start talking about 41 wins. Then we can start talking into the high 30s, low 40s for the wins. And that's where you start to see that engine just starting to rev up in that 2025, 2026 season. So that's my take for the Spurs on going into next season. But again, we've seen crazier things happen. I mean, they could go on a little tear, win 35 plus games. But again, you had to get to 46 wins this year to make it to the play-in. Next year, I would say 44, 45 wins is what you need to get into the play-in spot. But again, the Western Conference is going to be a big old NBA rapture. I feel it. I mean, there's going to be so many moves being made out there in the Western Conference. Definitely is going to look different. So we got some comments here before we go. Swiss, what's up, man? How you doing, man? Memphis will be back in the playoffs if everyone can stay healthy. Exactly. Memphis is the scary team. And, I mean, they were definitely injured all year. You're bringing back John Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart. That's a nice little trio in the backcourt. Jaren Jackson, they have a top 9 pick. So if they're at 9 and, they're looking at a player, I mean – you could possibly look at Matas Buzelis could be there at number 9. I mean, that's a pretty good player at 9. Saloon could fall to 9, and they could scoop him up. Cody Williams possibly could fall to 9. I mean, they can get another player there in Memphis to help with them. But, yeah, that's one team that people forgot and kind of wrote them off this year for good reason because they have everybody who was injured. A healthy Memphis team is a playoff team. What's good, man? I appreciate you joining, Swiss. Appreciate being here, man. The Suns probably need to let either Durant, Brooks, or Beal go. It's gonna be either Durant or Booker. Bradley Beal is gonna have to stay. No one's gonna take on that contract. No one wants Bradley Beal. You're gonna have to give up Bradley Beal, another young guy, and then possibly more draft picks, which Phoenix doesn't have. So no team's gonna. If you are trading for Bradley Beal, then you probably need to be fired as a GM. Just saying. We're about to start the Marcus Smart revenge tour. I feel bad for him yesterday, but I know he'll come back. It's a revenge tour for the entire Memphis organization. I mean, injuries happen. We've seen it all the time, but Memphis is definitely a healthy Memphis squad is definitely a playoff squad. They'll be in the playoffs as long as they can stay healthy. I've said before about the Suns with KD. I see them playing another season or two, but they'll be a lottery team in a few years. 100%. 100%. It's never going to work because, there's no point guard. I mean, maybe if they go out and sign Chris Paul to a vet minimum, then I can say, okay, I believe in, Phoenix because you don't have the ball in Book, KD, or Beal's hands. You can have it in a true point guard's hand, and that makes it a lot easier for these guys to rub off screens, to come off screens. You can see, Chris Paul going off a pick and roll, finding the open man. You're surrounded by shooters. Imagine if Chris Paul is a point guard for Phoenix and he's got Durant, Beal, and Booker on the perimeter. That's a very, very deadly Phoenix team. They are just a point guard away is what it is. So get a quality point guard. I think Phoenix is actually one of the better teams in the Western Conference. Warriors are washed. I would be sorry they run it back, but Clay is out of there. Clay is definitely gone. Clay is gone. He has nothing to do with the Warriors no more. definitely gone. Swiss, agree with you 100%. Clippers might move PG to Philly. That's the rumor. Point guard, Paul George to Philly is the rumor. That's probably the number one spot that we're looking at for Paul George to go. Giddy gone, Wizard or Shanghai Sharks. Subway might sponsor him. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Giddy. I don't know about the Subway sponsorship, but I don't know about Shanghai Sharks. He's going to be in the NBA somewhere, but I think he's probably going to be in a package to bring in another all-star type player for Oklahoma City, because remember, Oklahoma City has so many draft picks that they can give a bunch of draft picks as well as Giddy and anybody else to get pretty much any player they want in the league. LeBron to Dallas or Philly. I'm hearing LeBron wants to play Luka and Kyrie. So the reports coming up earlier, not today, but earlier a few days ago, was that the Mavericks are super high on Bronny James. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Drafting Bronny James gives you, some leverage to maybe sign LeBron James to play for the Mavericks. Luka, Kyrie, Bron. I mean, it would work. I think. I mean, Luka's pretty much the alpha there. Can LeBron take a step back and not so much be the alpha and not be commanding the ball? That's kind of hard to say. That it's kind of a tough situation. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think LeBron does want to play in Dallas and with Luka and Kyrie, especially if they're able to get Bronny James. PG don't want to be a Clipper no more. I don't think anybody wants to be a Clipper anymore. They need to just blow it up and rebuild in Clipperland. But they're going into the new arena, so they've got to keep some of these guys if they want to sell some tickets. So Cat gone. Yeah, I did mention earlier Karl Anthony Towns is gone. I feel like the Knicks are the one spot that Karl Anthony Towns is going to be ending up in. The Knicks can offer, Julius Randle in return, probably some draft picks as well. So I think Cat he's gone from Minnesota, but I think right now I like the Knicks as probably one of the front runners to get Karl Anthony Towns. Cooper Flag sweepstakes, victory flag shirt ASAP. Yeah, so we'll see, man. If the Spurs are that bad and get a chance of Cooper Flag, wow, I think the city of San Antonio will have a parade before they end up getting title number 6 in San Antonio. So definitely a possibility. Hey, man, appreciate everybody joining me tonight. We were strong at 65, 66 people on the live stream. Appreciate everybody joining me. We'll be back tomorrow. I know the title said Wacky Wednesday. It's not Wacky Wednesday. That is tomorrow. Actually, it was Taco Tuesday. So appreciate you guys joining in. Again, shout out to all of our partners here. Special Leaf, Mudslingers, MCS General Contracting, Burger Boy, Lids, La Cocina Taco Truck. We'll be giving away another prize on Friday, so be sure to tune in. All you got to do is just be a subscriber on YouTube and also just chat with us in the on the live stream. Go to the comment section, drop some chats in there. We'll pick somebody to give a lucky gift card to. And also don't forget, Gio and Rudy are giving away some cold hard cash. We get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you're going to end up taking some of our money away. So that's Gio and Rudy's cold hard cash giveaway once we get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So again, appreciate all you guys for joining me tonight. Until we are back tomorrow, hopefully Derek Irvin and Gio will be back either Thursday or Friday. We're working on a special thing for Derek Irvin, so be sure to tune in on Friday because we're hoping to have this wrapped up. But for everyone at Sweep the League, it is Rudy Campos Jr. Until we see you guys later. See you tomorrow, Knuckleheads.